Here. Okay. So today what we're going to do is we are going to focus on Josh.ai and Control4 is kind of our focus today. What we'll do is going to dive in a little bit. I'm going to cover a little bit of the stuff I covered in previous weeks for those of you that have been part of that. Again, thank you. But there are some things I want to cover on that because there's some foundational principles that we need to bring from those webinars within the sandbox over to the larger, deeper, larger scale video distribution and audio distribution systems that you're doing. And I want to cover some of that as well. Now, remember to mute your micros because, okay, Josh, lights and music, because I probably turned off some lights and turned on some music with one of that new feature. It's our toggle command, which changes the state of your micros. So make sure that you've muted your micros. It's a double tap on the dog head in order to make that happen, or you can also do it from the Josh portal. Today, what we're going to cover, we covered a little bit, what is Josh, who we are, what we are, for the guys that are kind of new. And where we are with things, system design, we'll go through that, kind of go through the Josh experience, go through the integration process. Corey will jump in and kind of show you what that looks like, where you go within our resources and go in and plug all of that into the Josh aspect. And then we'll focus on some aliasing and stuff along those lines within fine tuning. Bridget is live on the phones now, making sure to answer questions for you. So if you have questions as we go, Bridget is also one of our technical sales engineers and as good as anyone on the team in order to answer any of those questions you have. So we're trying to be a little bit more interactive this week without me being the one-man band here. So I appreciate everybody's help on that. Now, what is a sandbox? So I talked about this in previous weeks. It's really focused around making sure you have products which work well with us all along within to create this one thing that we talked about in webinar one, which was the experience. We're really focused about the story behind the brand and giving that, moving it into that experience for your end user, knowing your demo, knowing how to present that, and knowing the ins and the outs and how things are going to work within a constantly changing product can be a lot of work. So a sandbox consists of, and the more things of this you can hit, the better the experience. If you are only sitting there with something that works, which we don't necessarily say is integratable, is like as a sharp Roku TV, that TV works, but it's not necessarily something that we say works. If that's your primary experience with Josh, that's not going to be as good of a time as integrating Sonos. Lights, shades, thermostats, and all the other elements, and soon to be door stations and some along those lines too. We can also do that through Control4, as we're going to touch on here as well. So what does that consist of? Environmental controls, lights, shades, HVAC, media room products, surround sound, integrate handheld remote, or the Josh app. Now, the sandbox approach, and these are things that we work really well with native integrations, meaning, and that's what I want you to walk away with today on the Control4 side, is I want you to understand where the important factors are that you need to make sure Josh can have the ability to speak to them natively. Whether you have that native communication set up or not, we'll dive into that with Corey. But with the more of these elements that you have tied in to your overall experience with Control4, the better the experience will be for your end user. Lutron shades, obviously the shades, that with us on our own when we're doing it as a standalone, music players, Sonos, music content, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Pandora. That's a really important part we'll touch on the Control4 side. Distributed AV, we can work through Sonance, Audio Control, AV Pro, and Atlona, the thermostats, Locatron, and cameras, Snap cameras, and also IC real time. And then the video content, this is important, the Roku Dish and Xfinity. Now, how does this look different when you go over to the Control4 side? Well, you go to lights and shades, and those non-binary shades, well, the binary shades will, I found out yesterday, they'll work. It's only going to go up and down, but that's another conversation. We can talk more on that another time. But we still want to be able to have infinitely adjustable shades, ideally. So you can say set the shades to 40%, 20%, but lower them to 30%, raise them to 20%, however you want that to be said or done. Music, TVs, doesn't matter when you're going through Control4. Music players, still the best experience will be with Sonos. I know a lot of you guys out there, the Control4 guys, aren't necessarily too keen on our friends at Sonos and like to use some other products, but the best integration will be still through Sonos. We will work with Pandora, with C4, and that integration is now kind of coming out of beta, and it's getting better and better every day, and people are using it well. But as you guys know, Pandora itself has some limitations. Now, music content, Spotify Music, Apple Music, Tidal, Pandora. Distributed AV doesn't matter with Control4 because we're speaking to it through the processor. Thermostats don't matter because you're speaking to it through the processor. Locks don't matter. Cameras, Josh compatible MJPEG. And then the video content, this is where the key that we really want to focus on is that you walk away from making sure that the music and the video content aspects of it, that you have Josh compatible devices. That's really, really important to ensure a good experience. And that stuff is always expanding as well. Now, what we looked at a few weeks ago is this Josh.ai sandbox system. Thanks again to our friends at Datum for making these drawings for us. This system here actually emulates the system that we're going to go over, which is our office in LA, our Santa Monica office, in terms of what zones and how it's set up, in terms of a singular video zone here, and then we have audio zones throughout. And as you'll see here, we have lighting and shades set up in this diagram. And then on the subsequent diagram here, we'll show you how this is zoned. So a good piece and a good example when you look at how many rooms and how many rooms of control you're going to be having is the consideration when you're going through pricing, is you want to make sure this one is going to have 4 zones. So kitchen, 5 zones really, sorry, kitchen, dining, den, living, and deck. We're closer, I think we have a 4-zone system that we've set up and addressed in our office, but this kind of gives you these voice control zones. Now, the way this one would work is there'd be, in this one, we'd have a micro in this room, micro here over in the den, and a micro in the kitchen. And then we'd use at the app or another voice-enabled outlet here to get access out on the deck. And the only difference there is you lose room awareness because you're on a roaming mobile device. And so you would have to specify what you wanted, but you could still group things together with voice from any of these other areas to turn off and on the deck. Listen to X, Y, Z everywhere. Listen to this, turn on the lights, watch this, and do whatnot here and there. Now, when we go into here and look at more of the speaker layout, this room here, we've got speakers here, speakers here. And the cool thing about this sandbox approach system that we've got, again, the main thing that you are going to be losing when you go into the Control4 thing, at least today, is voice cast. So voice cast is when Josh's voice and confirmations come through the speaker system and not through the Josh micro, which I should have brought mine, but mine's hooked up because I'm locked up at home. So even the one I carry in my bag, it's all hooked up and operational at my house now. So that's the main difference. Really, when you get into the main differences in terms of what you lose when you go through your larger scale distributed AV systems. Now, some of the things in my previous webinars, what I covered is that you can get to the same total pricing you can get it there a lot of different ways. It's just a matter of whether you want to focus on wellness, you want to focus on this, and how you want to integrate that experience. And again, our integration and what we're capable of will always be growing. But again, here we're looking at the different zones, same zones tied in together. When you look at things, it's always generally about where you're going to be doing video versus non-video experiences. And then sometimes there's not even audio, it's just a lighting experience. So take that into consideration and remember how to flow within that ecosystem of the technology. So we're looking for shortcuts. So you're going to go voice, wake phrase, okay, Josh, watch Netflix, watch Disney Plus, watch ESPN, watch HBO, listen to jazz everywhere, listen to jazz in the dining and den, listen to jazz in the living room. Wherever you want to do that, you initialize that state with voice, or eliminate or turn off is the most popular thing that is used. And so when you go through and do that and learn how to flow from Apple Watch voice to your phone handheld remote, or to iPad for global control, and you can also do that with voice too as you learn to do that. The key really falls on you as the integrator to understand that and understand how to convey that to your customer so they can know how to use it. It's been a really interesting exploration, and me knowing how to use it and how to effectively get the results I want, and watching my wife learn how that happens. And so there's some gaps there that have been really beneficial for me to understand that process. So always try to learn and look at those things too. Now, the Perfect Josh install, it's magic when you use this Works with Josh solution. And obviously we need a robust network. You want to make sure we want everything to be on PoE. We can also do some things with Wi-Fi. But PoE is preferred. You want it wall mounted because we're going to hear better. We also started shipping some legs that will start going out with the new shipments. And we also have those if you need them for your previous micros. We do have those available on our store at Josh.ai as well. Now, we want to create this experience, and let's focus again, and let's make sure we know what integration means within each of these partners. That's really important. That's a lot to unpack too, like we were saying earlier. So let's make sure that you understand that. Engage with me, engage with Bridget, engage with Matt, engage with Felicia, engage with anyone in our team. We are a flat organization. Alex is available, Natter is available, Scotty is available. We are all out there and ready to help you understand what we need and what our capabilities are within each of these things. And this list is always growing. Now, why do we want to focus on these best practices? Well, a lot of you guys do the same system over and over and over and over again. It eliminates pre-wire time. It eliminates trim time. It eliminates rack time. It eliminates programming time and the learning process of teaching. So it's all about what? Efficiency. So let's make sure that we are focused on learning those things in order to keep growing and keep moving through this and as an experience for your end users. As you look at the future of the home and what that is, it's, that voice, we are kind of, and we're in uncharted waters with voice. Voice is going to transform. It's the next big frontier. The key on this is to get in early, like I was saying a minute ago, so you can understand from a foundational aspect where it goes once this moves. Well, once we get 2-3 years down the road, there's going to be even more to catch up. So you have voice, you have control system, then you have the AI piece of it, and then what is really paramount difference with us and the other companies out there is privacy. We want to make sure that you understand that, make sure that it's a 100% synergistic feeling between the whole entire technological solution that you're providing for your end users. Now, I threw this rack in here so you could see the parts and pieces. This is just an overview line diagram where everything's coming in for the shade power panels, the distribution cans. They got their equipment racks, lighting control cans, and access hatch, distribution cans, and then one other shade power panel. But what we have here are our 2 racks. And as you go through and look at the products in here, 2 pretty big Mid-Atlantic racks, just standard operating procedure for you cool guys out there. We see a lot of watt box for power control. You want to be able to remotely access that stuff. And then we have all of your components of Control4 that you're tying in. Now, what you are distributing and where you are distributing products is really kind of, there's different ways to do that. Now, the only thing, as I'd stated earlier, that you lose by going to a distributed AV system and going from a distributed video and distributed audio, the part with Josh is you lose that voice cast capability for now. That's not to say that will always be the case, but for now it is. Now, the first thing you're going to do is, and I'm going to run through this quickly, and then I'm going to turn it over to Corey, and then we will go through and actually show you what most of you guys have probably come here to see and get that overview and see that migration process. But 'tis best to show you what we're going to show you, and then tell you again, of course. And if you need follow-up, let us know. So we're going to migrate the Control4 programs to Josh. So you'd visit, once you're a dealer, Josh.ai /dealers, documents, and go down to the Control4 driver. You're going to open that composer, and you're going to go down here, and we'll show you that stuff here in a minute as well. Now, when you go through and you're still migrating, again, now you're going into the Josh.ai portal, and in the portal, that's where the magic happens with Josh on your setup. And so you'll go through and you can change your buildings here. Up in the top, you go through home, rooms, devices, scenes, and there you go. You see AV setup. Then this is your chat history. This is a critical component that you work with on your first couple projects. You're very involved with your technical sales engineer in order to make sure that you are monitoring your systems. It's not just a wipe your hands, wash your hands of it, and leave your customer. You need to make sure that every week you're checking their chat history to ensure you, the integrator, have your aliases done and set up properly in order to make sure that they get a good experience in their homes. Now, what we'll do here, let's see. Going to, hey, Corey. I think this might be I guess I'll go to the next slide. So one of the key pieces, and what I mentioned before, was we want to make sure that you want to minimize the way the signal paths flow into Josh. We speak natively to Lutron, but we can also speak to Lutron through Control4. So you can get some redundancies there. And we can also make it to eliminate some of those redundancies. We can hit, if the big question becomes, do you want to access Lutron keypads in Josh? So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stop sharing. We are going to bring on Corey. Can we hear you, sir?
Hello.
Hey there,
I'm here.
buddy. Thank you. I'm
What's
going to
up?
start your video, let everybody see that beautiful face.
There it is. Beautiful.
Then I'll let you take over from here, and then I can dive back into some of the aliasing things after we get into that, if that sounds okay to you.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Thank everyone for joining. Looks like we have a lot of people interested in this. Going to start off with a couple slides before this where you started on the dealer portal and show you where we are there. Everybody good there?
Looks good. I can see it on my end.
Okay. So dealer portal, exactly where he told you to go to. You're going to scroll down. There's a lot of good information on this. The Control4 drivers here. Later, when we do the webinar for Crestron, all the modules are located on this site also. Another key one I like to show is, we're going to talk about this a little bit later, the aliasing and formatting. This is a really good PDF to explain that more in depth. So what you're going to do, you're going to go here, click it, download the driver, download it to whatever folder you usually download it to, and then you want to go over and import it into your composer. So this composer system, it's a really basic system, and this is our LA office. We've got 4 different rooms, pretty basic Sonos and some TV for the main area. We don't have Lutron on here, and I'll explain that a little bit later when I show you the Josh portal. So you get your driver, all you Control4 guys out there, you know, you go here, manage your drivers, and then you're going to import it just like you normally would down here and add driver. Once you have that in and it's in, you simply go to search Josh.ai. It's going to pop up here. I've had a few people call in. They had their certified only, doesn't show up there. Here it is. In this case, I'm going to drop it into the rack room. Before I do that, let me go back to Josh Portal. So this is Josh Portal. Scarlett is the name of our server that we're using in LA. If I go down to AV setup right now, you're not going to see a Control4. We do not have it loaded yet. I haven't added the driver and composer. But if I go to diagnostics, this screen basically brings up everything on the network that Josh sees. So I scroll down, I can see right here, I've got a Control4 processor. It says it's offline and Josh is trying to connect to it. So if you have your Control4 and your micros on the same network, you're going to be able to see this. You're going to see that Josh is trying to communicate to Control4. It just can't yet because your Control4 doesn't have the driver installed. So at this time, I'm going to go back over. I've got rack. I'm going to add the Josh.ai there. It's going to import it. I'm going to leave the name like it is. And right after I import it, you can already see server listening on 50.196, which is the micro address, and it's actually syncing right now. So if I go back over to Josh portal, I'm going to do a restart. If they're already both online, you need to restart the Josh so it'll import the composer program. So you can do it a few different ways. I can type in restart here on the bottom. I can also scroll to the top here and do a restart button here. So now it's doing a restart. Back on Composer, just to lay this out a little better. Main area, I've got a Sony TV. I've got a Roku player, and I've got a Sonos in the main area. Kitchen, I've got a Sonos player in the kitchen, a Sonos in the rack for distribution, and I've got a media room with a Sonos player in there. Basically, one thing while we're here waiting for Josh to reboot, it might already be done, but I want to get this now. In your main area, just like you normally do on your navigators, your touch panels, your remotes, you want to make sure that you hide all the devices that they aren't using. So the same thing goes there. If you don't hide these devices, notice I have all these ones from the Bravia TV that automatically gets imported. I hide those in Control4. That way they also don't get imported into Josh. That's a key thing. If you don't have those, Josh will import every one of those and you'll just have a bunch of sources in Josh that you're not using. So let's go back to Josh. Looks like it's about up. And you'll notice that now all of a sudden on this AV setup, I've got 5. So 5 errors basically, or 5 notices is what we call them. If I select that, I now have a Control4 AV hub. I select that and it's showing my 4 Sonos players for audio sources. It's showing on my video sources, my Amazon Prime, Hulu, all the apps I have built into my Roku player. This is my Roku player here. And it also shows my zones, kitchen, main area, and rack. So easy thing, you get it imported, it imports everything you have in there. If you had Control4 lighting, if you had the Lutron in there, it would automatically pull those in. It will automatically put them into the correct rooms, whatever you had them named. If you have rooms in your Control4 composer that aren't in the Josh already, it would automatically create those rooms for you. So really easy to get all the or the Control4 information into Josh. So crucial part here, we want to go to the AV room setup. We want to select these sources. So what it's asking for is these are Josh controlled devices. So Sonos players, Roku's, we can play the Beatles. We want to be able to connect that Sonos to the correct room in your Composer program. So Kitchen Sonos, you want to select that. You want to go here, and these are all my Sonos players that are available. These automatically populate. So I want to go to my Kitchen Play 1. Assign that one. Notice it goes away. It now says Sonos. It's connected to Kitchen Play 1. You want to go through and do that to all of them. Main area, media room, and then our rack.
Now, Corey, do you want to touch on really quick, just because we're going to touch on it here in the alias slides a little bit after, is just how you've named those? And
so yeah, you kind of want to name it. I know a lot of people name their Sonos as just the room name. So you have your Sonos, when you pull it up, it's called family room, or it's called master bedroom. You can do that, but you kind of want to keep things separate. So in this case, on music players, I go here, select my music players. Actually, let's go back to here, Control4. Down here, you've got room names. You can change the names here. So if you imported it and it was just said media room, you would want it to say something different. You could rename them here, or here, sorry, and change the name of it. So it's not the same as the room name. It keeps everything flowing correctly, makes Josh a lot easier to operate. A key to that also is if you go to diagnostics, down here in the bottom, it would show you any duplicates that you have, which is a really cool tool. So it'll tell you room and music player names are the same, so you can go through there and rename them. It's a kind of a nice little secret. Not secret, but good tool.
yeah, and then we'll also we'll tie into that a little bit more as it relates to lighting names as well here in a minute.
Yep. Last notice we have here is the Roku. It's going to come over here. It's going to populate my Roku streaming stick. Now that that's connected, we can go to that room and say, play YouTube, play Netflix, do a little deeper dive, bring up shows, things like that. So now Josh knows how to communicate to that device, and it knows how to tell Composer, hey, I'm going to Control, or I'm going to Roku, and Composer does all the driving for the source switching, everything on the back end. Basically, that is the hardest it gets to set up the distribution for Control4 and Josh. Bigger systems, of course, are going to be a little more complex, but that's pretty much it as far as the AV goes. Back here. Yep. So getting back on the lights. Chad talked about before when we have Lutron and Josh can control them natively, and we have keypads available. The nice thing when you have keypads is that you can create scenes off of those keypads. So go to devices, I go to my keypads. Here's our Lutron keypads. So if you do all this through Control4, you don't have access to these keypads, which is the caveat on whether or not you want Lutron to populate from Control4 or you want Josh to have it populated natively. So usually the best case scenario if you have keypads is to let Josh do all the lighting controlling. If you import it, you can leave all your lighting in your Control4 and you can simply hide those devices in your diagnostics. You can get into that in the training sessions, but this is going to be your best bet as far as learning it in. Shows all our lights here from Lutron. All these got imported in. That one is unplugged. That one is unplugged. Conference room, we've got lights. You can simply view lights like this, do a percentage. Kitchen, living room, we've got a lot of lighting in there. We've got some hue color bulbs. So all of this is imported in directly natively direct to Lutron. And I'll go to a quick little demo here. Authorized devices. This is going to come up automatically when you get your micros online. It'll see Lutron homeworks. It'll see all these Philips hues. You just go to them, put your login credentials, it's going to pull in all your Lutron devices.
Now, Corey, how would that be different with Control4 lighting, and what would that look like? That would all still populate. It would just be, what would that part look like?
Exactly. So if you're not doing Lutron, you have Control4 lighting or other lighting that the Control4 is controlling. When you added the Josh driver to your composer, it would automatically import all of those lights also, and they would just have a C4 written next to them. So if you go to living room, these downlights would say downlights and then C4. So all your Control4 lights are coming in, they're populating here. We can address them individually within Josh. You can say turn on the downlights. You can do scene controls. You can add them to scenes if you wanted to. None of that changes. The only difference is you won't have those, if you're using Lutron, you won't have the keypads. But
Okay.
importing wise, it looks identical. And just as easy as importing the AV part of it.
Awesome.
So next step is you want to add some scenes. You want to add Control4 scenes. So in Control4, you'll notice if I go down to programming and I go down to select Josh, you're going to see these events. So we have the capability of having 999 programmed events on the Control4 side. These could be any macros, anything you guys want to set up on the Control4 side. Good night scenes, wake up scenes, you know, Super Bowl party scene, or whatever you wanted those scenes to be in your Control4 side. This is where you can program them. I kind of like to mention, it's good. I always use these comments to label them, because these, you can't label these on here. So you label it in the comment. So this one's going to be the good morning scene. So event 1, good morning. If I go back to portal scenes, I already have it here. I'm just going to delete it real quick. Delete this one also. So you go in here, tab the bottom tab, create new scene. That's going to import a new scene into Josh. So over on this other side, what was I going to go back to? Oh yeah, I'm like, dude, event 2. I'm going to label that one good night. Drop it down. So now I
Hey guys, 1 second here. Let's see if we can get Corey back. Looks like we lost Corey. Give me some chats. Let me know that you guys can still see and hear me. Everybody. Yep. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. 1 second. Looks like Corey froze or locked up. Corey is in Arizona messing with our servers in LA. So again, the remote capabilities obviously network dependent. We're doing a lot of things here. So 1 second, brief intermission. Let me see what I can do and get Corey back online here. what I'll do, I'll jump back in 1 second to, and I'll just go back through until we get Corey back. I'll run back through and if anybody else can reach out and call Corey on the team that's paying attention, I'll run through this. So what Corey was covering, see if he comes back up here in a second and I can give him back to control. He was going through the AV setup and kind of walking you through everything. And that's Josh Portal, what everything looks like. And he was going directly into scenes. And when he was doing that, he was showing you basically how to import those scenes and then coordinate event IDs within Control4 over to the Josh side of things within scenes here within this tab. So when you do that, then he'll be able to make whatever macro command of any degree within the Control4 side of things and make things happen. The cool thing about that is you can get things to operate and function that Josh doesn't necessarily control with, but control, such as a Kaleidoscape or other products along those lines that the Control4 does a really great job of. And we can pull in some cool scenes and make those things dive in and get really good functionality and make things work really well. Now, as we go through a little bit further, what we're going to tie into is when he was asking, do you want to access the Lutron keypads in Josh? One of the things about that is if you given access through Control4 and through Lutron, you would have seen twice as many tiles populate in there. In a large system, that can be a little overwhelming. So our innate thing when we program is, oh, authorize, authorize, authorize. Go through and make sure you understand this stuff in order to make your everything very, very efficient. So the naming conventions for voice best practices, what we were discussing there is one of the things is in best practices was making sure that we have ultimate efficiency. So within that efficiency, what we want to make sure is that whatever you name everything within the Control4 naming conventions, you want to make sure that it's clear and it's concise. So you don't want to call it light. You don't want to name it a light. You want it to be overhead light. You don't want a shade to necessarily be shade or blind. Call it the blackout shade or some other name, which might make sense. One of the things that's also really effective is room name device. So family room, sconce, family room, pendant. And then that way, or what we'll show in this one is why. So Josh, here's a direct match with the device name. We control just that device. Turn off the light, turns off only things like alias with that. We didn't even really have to set that up. So that import looks really neat and clean and is super effective. Now, naming conventions for voice best practices, names to avoid. Now, there's a lot of red there, but it's really easily modified, because Josh does help autofix a lot of these names and a lot of the problems in there, so you can hit different things. So okay, looks like Corey may be back. You back?
I'm back.
Oh, hey, all right, yay. I'm going to stop sharing and give it back over to Corey. I was feeling dead space. I was about ready to start doing dances.
Sorry about that, guys. Don't know what happened. I guess it's the virtues of quarantine. All right, back up. There we go. So back to good morning scene. So I created the scene. I told you we could do this just like a regular Josh scene. I could do music players. I could tell, in the main area, play Billy Joel, turn on these certain lights, things like that. But in this case, we want to do a Control4 scene. So we want to go to the little setup gear. And under the scene type, we drop that down and we said Control4. So now that that's there, right down here, you can put the number in from the scene that we created on the composer side. So if I go to programming, back to 1. Sorry about that. Scene 1, that's my good morning. Go back to Josh. So now anytime we do the trigger for this room, right now it's just good morning. So if I say, Josh, good morning, it's going to run that scene. While we're on here, we can do, this is where you'll add aliases, scenes, things like that. You want to be able to say, instead of good morning, you say, I am awake. You save that as a scene. Start my day. Things like that. So in your scenes, kind of a cool way to do it. Multiple different ways you can make that scene trigger. So any of these will trigger that good morning scene in the Control4 side right now. While I'm here, just for kicks, I'm gonna go down to responses. So in Josh, you can use the default, okay, things like that. It'll do the standard Josh commands, but you can do a custom command. So a good morning, you could say, make it a great day. And now every morning you're going to say whatever the trigger was, and Josh is going to reply, make it a great day. Or you can do your own custom multiple in here. If you do several, it's just going to randomly pick one. But it's kind of a cool way to make your clients, a little custom wake up commands, things like that. So right now you'll notice, since I did that Control4, it has the C4 logo next to that scene. So now you know which scenes in your list are Control4 scenes. Let's go back to, let's just do the other one that we did. Good night. And again, drops in a regular scene. I go to here, select Control4. It populates, and I want to do that one, is event number 2. So now that's all it is. It's tied to that event in Composer, and that's as easy it is to add the scenes from Control4 into the Josh. Really intuitive. It's really nice feature. So yeah, that's the scenes.
Awesome. Now, another thing that on those, can you go back to kind of showing the responses on the scenes part? So this is something that I touched on in detail and theory, but this is where you would type in the custom responses. And so this is where you can really customize and tailor once you start mastering your demos. At my house, I use scenes a lot, basically to make fun of my friends. And that's just how I like to use it. But you can use it a little bit more productively as well, in terms of getting a customized response for your customers or clients that are coming in once we get back to normalcy and within your showroom, and make those customized responses. So welcome to the Smith family. Welcome to the Smith family. We hope you enjoy the presentation from XYZ integration firm. And then instead of starting off your proposal presentation to them with, here's your proposal for X amount of money, they're asking, what the heck was that? And that's a really cool thing that you can show them, and you can do all kinds of other cool features. Obviously, when you tie it in with Control4, you can get really deep into the possibilities of what you can accomplish there. So anything else that we should cover? We showed event IDs. Do we show proxy IDs? Do we need to dive into anything on that, or you think that we're good on that stuff, Corey?
I think we're good as far as that goes. Yeah, I don't think anything else here. Room names.
Rooms for a second.
Yep. So as that came in, it populated all these rooms also when we did C4.
Yeah, so that's another one of the cool things. So as it relates to license cost, this is where you want to kind of take into consideration, oh, how does the Josh license work? This is the rooms of control that we are discussing when you go from 1 to 5 rooms, 6 to 15 rooms, and then unlimited. I think most of the systems that you guys are probably using out there are 100% going to be, well, not 100%, the 6 to 15 or the unlimited rooms. So that's really the something that you want to make sure you understand and that you sell the right license. So that's pretty important.
Yep.
Cool. Anything, and as, can you show them how the change buildings looks too, Corey, since you're in there? So if you have multiple houses that you manage and such, and just
So
kind
as
of,
the integrator, you'll have the list of your servers that you control, ones you've set up. They'll populate under here, and this is basically where you will select them. So it's kind of a key thing. After you get the job installed, we like to tell all the integrators to take a look at the chat history. You'll see in here that clients are calling the entry light instead of foyer light. If they're doing things like that, you can automatically go to that light and rename it, give it an alias for foyer instead of entry. If they're saying watch a song or turn to you or Pandora instead of listen to, that's kind of something you have to look at. You be able to call them and say, hey, I noticed you're trying to look Pandora, and explain how to do it the correct way, listen to Pandora or play Pandora. Things like that. This chat history is very important for you guys to look at for the first couple weeks after you guys do the install. It gives the client a lot better feeling that you're paying attention and that they learn how to use it correctly.
Yeah, an interesting thing about that is people do this. Josh is an inanimate object, but it's not, well, not inanimate necessarily, but not living and breathing. Well, interesting there. The funny thing about this part is we have a tendency to wash our hands of the job and leave. The whole kind of joke about the tail light rule and all those. But one of the things on this is you'll see that messages on user input column that'll be highlighted in red if it was misunderstood. Then the Josh response column, what happened? If there's nothing that happened, what'll end up doing is it won't have any sort of response. But if something wasn't understood and it says I don't have a light named that in this room, that would be, the customer would be like, oh, it didn't work and I said this. The funny thing about this is you have a tendency to think that you may, if I wanted this light on here, you may want the light on, but what you call it may not be what you actually call it when you actually speak about it. So you may think, and it may not work. So aliasing is really critical and really, really, really important to make sure that you follow up. And our TSEs, our technical sales engineers, on your first couple projects, they'll schedule time with your lead tech that's going over that to go over those first couple projects and make sure for a month after to make sure that everything is going really, really well and that they understand how to go through and make sure that you have all the aliasing and naming conventions done properly. Corey, I'll go ahead and take over and jump back in. I think I was sharing my wrong screen for a second. So I'm going to the PowerPoint. Let's see. Is that filling the screen?
That's good.
Is it? Awesome.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see here. Wasn't before. Thanks for all the text messages, everyone. You guys care so much. You're so good to me. Okay, so we kind of covered, I think when we lost you, Corey, do you want to walk through this part and we'll go through this slide a little bit?
Yeah, you just want to make sure. So lighting shades, you want to make sure that each device has its own name. So shades, it could be left or right shade, left, center, right shade, east shade, west shade per room. Lighting, you can have overhead lights. If you have different sconces, it could be left sconce, right sconce in each particular room. So when you walk in the room, you can still say turn on the sconces. You don't necessarily have to say turn on the left and right sconce. You can say turn on the sconces. Josh knows that there's two in there and he'll turn both of them on. But you don't want to name them both sconce. it keeps everything individual. It makes everything work fluidly. Josh knows what to do more if it doesn't have duplicate names, kind of like what we brought up before. Same with the shades. It's very easy to do it. We'd recommend you do it on the Control4 side of it. So if you're doing all the lighting and shades and everything in your Control4 program, name them different in the Control4. Make sure they have individual names in there. So when you import it, you don't have as many aliasing and things to do on the Josh side. That's kind of a
Yeah,
key
that's
thing
kind
to
of
do.
ties into being more detailed on the Control4 side, right, Corey? So it's
Yeah.
family room sconce 1, family room sconce 2, and the more that you have in there, the easier it is to manage your aliasing on the Josh. So again, it gets into the efficiency and processes pieces of the puzzle. Um, Device names, so naming conventions, you don't want to use name, you don't want to name things device names. It seems like a lot of red, but I think that it's pretty manageable. Family room light, family room lamp, and then 1, 2 are ways to get away from those duplicates as well by putting numbers at the end of them within your Control4 program. Because the key is you should be able to get off the project very quickly in that manner. Josh helps auto fix names on device discovery. So room name, device type, miscellaneous device type, whatever that may be, kind of getting back into what we were talking about there. Anything to add on this slide, Corey?
No, it's just keep in mind that the naming is a pretty important part about it. Just keeping everything in your Control4 named. And I've always been that way, a Crestron guy mainly, and all my rooms, everything's always been named. It's a lot easier in the long run just to keep it all specific.
Right. And so back to kind of what we were saying a minute ago, room name, device name, bedroom, his lamp, bedroom, her lamp, living room, Sonos C4, master bedroom, Sonos C4. Be specific in C4. Don't use abbreviations because anything that doesn't translate well to natural language processing, Josh can't read, understand, and know what you mean by that. Saying turn on the MSTR BDRM lamp is not going to be necessarily a fun time for anyone. So, if you have questions on that stuff, make sure that you get back to me. Again, the ideal Josh and Control4 install: lights, shades, thermostats, locks, scenes, fans, distributed AV and remotes. You can use handheld remotes, use our app, or also go into their app and go through those processes that way. But remember, learn how to flow within the environment of the technology. So initialize with voice. If you're doing a lot of initializations all the time of saying the same thing, because the key is this: with voice, you can go through and you can group things and do on the fly macro commands in any way that you want to do it. You don't have to say it the same way all the time, but you can get the same transformed environment. If you're transforming the environment in the same way all the time, then it may be appropriate to make a scene. And then it's a shortcut. Again, voice is about shortcuts, shortcuts, shortcuts. It's not necessarily, you're not going to be sitting there saying, okay, Josh, channel up, channel up, channel up. But you might say, make it a lot louder, So there's a lot of cool things in there that you want to tie in and make sure that you understand on how to make sure that you can flow within the ecosystem well. Now, remember, sell the Josh experience, sell the whole integrated home experience with voice. Don't just say, do you want voice control? Show them how it works. Get your showroom certified, demo, set up, master that demo, know how to do it. Make sure that you're good at it. Don't get out there and wing it. Make sure you've practiced it. Make sure you know what works and how it's going to work and how to explain that and transform that environment for your client to give them a different experience than they've had anywhere else. Remember, emerging markets, changing how you're doing things, being exciting, and making sure that you're showing your client something that's different than what they've conventionally been out there dealing with. We have a great partnership with Control4. That's why the products work so well together. How to position pricing. It's all about the total package. Focus on the total package. Make sure that it's not just about this component, this component, this component, but if you have other questions on how to configure your systems, call us, call me, call our team, and let's go over that on how to do that most effectively. Now, on pricing, it's about, this gets into, here's the micros. The micros are $5.99 each. How many micros do you put in the house? Well, you want to focus on transforming the environment, and also for the same reason you put the same handheld remote in every single room all the time for room to room consistency is the same reason you'd want, there we go. You'd want to put multiple micros throughout the house, especially those common areas that everyone's using. So family room, living room, kitchen, or definite keys, maybe the mudroom, entry to the garage area, and then all the way into the master bedroom, master bath, depending on how many. 5 is a good number to get started. You run through up to 5 rooms of control, what we talked about before. You end up at about $1,000, and the next chart moves through this diagonally so you can kind of understand that. Now, 6 to 15 rooms with a 5-year license. You figure out how many micros, then how many rooms of control from your Control4 program. Then you figure out how long that contract is. One of the interesting things is if you end up as an integrator and you've got 1,000 customers paying you $1,500 a year, and you come out for an hour consultation to go over the AI enhancements to their Josh system every 6 months, this unlimited $1,500 a year plan doesn't sound so bad, and it gives them a really rich experience when integrated and set up and managed and handled properly. So
Hey,
you can
Chad.
also dive into.
Sorry. They're saying that the black screen are not seeing the slides right now.
Oh, really? Thank you. Is it, they can't see everyone? My goodness. I'm so sorry, guys. Some of them see, some of them don't. Here we go. Sharing one more time. Does everybody see the pricing structure?
Working. Cool.
Okay, let's go back. And so again, I'll run through this quickly. I can talk over this all the time. It's a main talking point all the time in every meeting and every interaction. How many micros do you put into the house? $600 a piece. The more the merrier. You decide how many rooms you're putting those in. Then you look at how many rooms of control from your Control4 program. Then you decide how long the license is. Most guys are going in at it with their lifetime, and then if they get a bucket price, they work their way back. But remember, let's go to the next slide here. And you can get into this at $1,000. You could do a really cool integration with a house. And if you only wanted to control common areas with voice, you could do that at $1,000 with a $400 recurring fee. And that would be a pretty cool system. But the one that we sell the most of, and the one that most integrators are doing, is they're doing the 5 micros with 6 to 15 rooms of control and a 5-year license. $5,500, generally about $2,000 additional in programming labor and cost. Programming. It depends if you have to run wire, of course. But that would give you the ability with proper naming conventions to import your Control4 system, be set up, operational, up and going in 10 minutes, but then refining for half a day. And then you have another $1,500 to manage it remotely and go back and continue training them how it works. I'd recommend maybe a weekly consultation with them to walk through it with them and see how they're using it, and make sure that you don't realize that revenue until those additional steps post installation are taken. It's a really major key to make sure that they're happy with the system so they understand how to interface, work, and find out what's going on. You need to get involved with this. This is an experience, and you're going to make sure that you manage it properly. Now on the 12 Josh micro system, as you can see, pretty nice system there. I can go on and on and on about that stuff forever. But again, we'll get to my non 8-bit pictures of our current rep firms, By Design, Vision, and Sound Marketing, Joaquin, Benito, and team. And then we have the CET and Associates team in the mountains. And then, of course, another shout out to our buddies over at Datum, who again helped me with all of my drawings that I presented and showed today. They can help you out with any drawings that you may need in order to keep yourself out in the field, making positive headway and getting your proposals handled. Then if you have further questions, needs, other things you don't understand, let's go to the phones. Hey, Bridget, you want to unmute and we can chat here too and see.
Hello. Yes, I've been answering questions. Thanks, guys. I've answered 70 so far, and I'm going to work through getting everyone's answered. A lot of people have been asking about the Control4 music. And as a lot of you guys know that are current dealers, we are currently involved in the Control4 beta program for Pandora. So that's the first service that they've kind of exposed in their API. And then they're working on making some API modifications on their end so we can do all their services. That has been highly requested, and it's something that we definitely want to integrate with and are kind of meeting with Control4 weekly to make that happen. So we appreciate all the feedback we've gotten so far on that Control4 beta program.
Here's a good, I'm just going through some of the Q&A. Ed McNeil asked, what is the best practice for adding Sonos Connect? Or now it's a port to a Control4 audio matrix switch and then using Josh voice control. With that, you're going to lose the voice cast capability because it's going into an audio matrix. But is you guys, Bridget, Corey, do you have any input on naming conventions or anything else for that for him?
So yeah, when you route that in your Control4 and you connect it to your distribution amp, make it available in all the rooms that you want available. Once that imports into Josh, that one Sonos player will be available in those rooms automatically. So any of those rooms that you go to and you select play, or you ask it to play the Beatles, it'll automatically pull up that Sonos and start playing. If it was on in any other room, of course, it's going to change songs in those rooms. But usually it's one of those connects or the play to like the main areas. They have separate ones for the, you know, master suite, things like that. That's usually the way people have been doing it.
Cool. Let's see. Oh, I keep getting more and more questions popping up. Bridget, are you answering some of those questions in Q&A? And that why they're disappearing?
So sorry, guys. I've been doing mostly Q&A because that's kind of public, so it's great that everyone can see my answers.
I can. I don't think everybody can. Oh, I see. Oh, I gotcha. You're right.
Where like the Q&A, or I haven't done as many in the chat. Sorry, there's been such an influx. I've been typing as fast as I can. And for any questions that we didn't answer, chat's going to do a few more. sales@Josh.ai or support@Josh.ai. We'll make sure everyone gets answered. Yeah, I'm plugging away still.
Michael Roll, very new to Josh.ai. What really sets it apart from other voice control platforms like Alexa or Google? The biggest one is we're not passively listening, aggregating data about your user profile. So with the other, I won't refer to their names, mass market products, when you log into your Amazon Prime or you log into your Gmail account to activate those products, they are passively listening and they are archiving keywords. So there's a big privacy component there because they're always listening. One big difference with us is we are not. We are only listening for the wake phrase. We hear the wake phrase, we process that, send it to the cloud, get a speech to text phrase. And then we take that, and what we're trying to do is what do we do with this information? Because we're also specific to home automation. If you say, if it hears raise the grapes or something along those lines, we're not going to give you suggestions on where to buy grapes. We're able to focus on those things that make your house better as opposed to being other assistant-based endeavors. The other thing is those are also only going to activate scene-based triggers through your control system. So the beauty again of Josh is being able to say anything you want almost anything you want when you walk into a room in order to get actions. There are certain keywords you want to focus on, and that's kind of part of the learning process. But generally speaking, natural language processing is the ability to say anything that you want in order to get actions, executable actions within the ecosystem of your home technology. Now, the other piece is we have deep integration we have what's called deep linking with Roku. We have deep linking with Ketra, with some other pieces, but as it relates through Control4, we're basically paying license fees and increased costs. Well, there's a little bit more to it, William. William's asking, compared to Alexa or Siri without a Control4 system, are they basically paying license fees and increased costs for privacy? Well, yeah, and something that you can actually program, and we've built an ecosystem and backbone behind the product in order for you to integrate it in with these products and make it do the application specific things that you want done within the home. So yes, and there's server costs associated with that. We are a control system based in the cloud. So there is cloud storage associated with the server. Then every voice command that we do, we're sending that up and processing, and there's fees associated with that. So, and we are a living, breathing product, 100% focused on that. So it's a completely different experience than the other products out there. The mass market products are great for other things, but not so great within the CEDIA channel, and specifically as to what you're trying to accomplish in your business and maintaining the viability of your business. We're focused on you so you can sell a better experience and also have some profitability on it. I hope I answered your question, William Dehane. Let's see. Let's run through. Yeah, anonymous attendee, you can email sales@Josh.ai. Not available in UK yet. I see something about two-way communication shades, so binary shades. Currently, those will just open and close. Is that what we decided yesterday, guys, on the call? Was that how that would
Yes. So even if you were to say 50% or 20%, it'll still do the opposite of where it was. So if you say 20% and it was up, it'll go down. So it's just up or down. It's not going to give you an error when you request a percentage. But usually if you have those and the client knows that they're binary, you're just going to say raise or lower.
Excuse me. Okay, so beta testing on Control4. Alex is using, in his Palm Springs house, Alex is using John McDermott. Alex is using the music, Pandora music at his house, and he likes it. We're working on some deeper things. We have calls with Control4, I think weekly or monthly. So we're always working on making that better. If you're on the fence, John, shoot us an email at sales@Josh.ai, and we will show you some other ways to make that work if you're committed 100% to the Control4 streaming platform. Again, Gabby, UK, not yet. GDPR limitations, but soon. Let's see, Eric, we're always open. Eric asking about other ways and other products. We're always in taking those things into consideration on expanding and making a better product offering. Currently, we're limited to our micros, and that's where our focus is.
So quick question here about Marlon's asking if they need a 4-site subscription to allow Josh to work with C4. No, you do not. Works perfectly fine without it. Our system that I was demoing does not have a 4-site subscription. The neat thing is that the Josh app will work remotely to control that Control4 device because it just thinks it's on the same network. So that works really well.
Mario, another email where the ones I sent out not good enough. I don't know, Mario. I didn't see your emails. I'm just kidding. With the chat section, I'm gonna run through here and see.
Yeah, Mario, email sales@Josh.ai, and we'll definitely schedule a call for this afternoon.
Someone's asking about, they heard about the new grouping ability. Yes, we are working on that. It is in the work. We don't have a date when it releases yet, but it is going to be really cool. So look out for that.
Mario will make sure to reach out. Mario, why don't we talk after the webinar, Mario? I have a call in 47 minutes. As soon as we end this broadcast, why don't you and I get on the phone?
A few questions about Crestron. Should we answer those now, Chad? What it works with?
Q&A or is that in chat?
Q&A.
Yeah, go ahead and answer them.
Main thing is just asking whether or not it does, how we work with Crestron. A few people in here said, yes, that works. That looks really cool with Control4. How about Crestron? So Crestron Home and Ping, we do work with. It's all the environmental stuff, shades, locks, lighting, thermostats, all of those things. The AV part of those, the Ping and the Crestron Home do not work yet. We are in talks with Crestron on getting them to update the API to give us those permissions to work with the AV. As far as simple Windows goes, anything you can program in there, pretty much you can import into Josh. My house, I have Ping, Crestron Home, and Simple, all three working on the same Josh server. So it can be done. It works really well. And yeah, just about anything you can dream of on your Crestron side, you can import it through Simple.
Yeah, and on the Crestron Home side too, another way, it just depends on the distributed AV side. You could do all the lighting and the shades and do all of that stuff through, but if we had native capabilities to be able to speak to the Sony TVs and you weren't necessarily doing distributed AV, that'd be another way to do it. Happy to chat about that stuff online. It's the same way with the Control4 aspect too. There's a lot of ways to do this, a lot of ways to integrate all these systems, as you guys all well know. So looks like we are, what's our time here? 12:15. We appreciate everyone again for making all the time to come out here and listen to us and learn more about our product. If you have questions, you need a hug after COVID, I'll give you all the hugs you want. Everybody, I'll give you a virtual hug. Whatever you guys need out there, reach out. We are here to support you and help you grow your business. Find other ways to do it. Stay positive. Stay engaged with your customer base out there. And again, reach out to all those friends and family that may be sitting at home by themselves without too much engagement. Show them you care. We care about you. So again, thank you for everything, everyone. We're really glad you could make it.
Thanks, guys.